Okay, so the first one is assessing the environment. Assessing the environment. Does somebody want to tell me what that means? Yes.
Identifying like what's good and what's bad about the environment and what are its strengths and weaknesses.
Okay, and how do we define environment? That's good. How strengths, weaknesses, what's in it, what's not. How do we define environment in this case? Because when you use that word, sometimes people think of other things, right?
Like what's around you as far as the resources and the people around you.
Exactly. So what are the resources and people? What's there and not there? Another word for environment is the context in which you are leading. Right? So you're assessing the environment, you're assessing the context in which you are leading. Now, part of what we've done in this, in the last 3 weekends, is to look at how our context is changing. And it really warmed my heart to hear many of you say that you had learned how to embrace those who were different, how to work with those who are different. Because what did we look at in the second session? Leading in a multicultural society, embracing diversity as a strength. And so that's part of the environment too, understanding how it's changing. Not only what's there and what isn't, not only the resources and people, but how is that context changing? Because what does that mean? Your leadership has to change too, right? Your leadership has to change as the environment changes. Okay, so you have to start out with, and another piece of the environment is the environment a good one for collaboration? Now, Kathy just mentioned an environment that may not be good for collaboration. What is that?
Corporate.
The corporate world that is, a corporate world that is still hierarchical, where people still stay in their boxes. They stay in their boxes because they're slapped down if they try to get out of them. Now, corporations are changing. Many corporations now are teaching collaborative leadership. Why? Because they're having to put together multicultural, multi-country teams, global teams that have to work together. And so if everybody stays in their hierarchy and the marketing person says, I don't have anything to say about the quality of the product, what's going to happen? Right? The marketing, yes, go ahead.
You're not going to be successful.
That's right. That's right. The other thing that's happened with corporations in terms of the environment, the context in which they're leading, is they're finally getting, as Maura said last time, that if you want to sell to women, if you want to sell to people who are different, if you want to sell to minorities, you have to have representatives of those groups on your board, in your senior management, and on your product teams, your marketing teams. I remember one ridiculous meeting I went to when I first went to Coca-Cola, in which our big marketing and PR firm from New York brought a huge team down to explain to us their new ad campaign for us. And we walked in and they were all on one side of the table, and it was 12 white men, most of them over the age of 40. Now we sell Coca-Cola, right? That's what you put on your team? In order to, I mean, at least give me some younger men, you know, but I'd like to see something that is representative of the groups that we were marketing to. Now, Coca-Cola wasn't that much better at that time, but we at least had one woman, me, on the team, you know, and we had some ethnic and racial diversity. So we walked in, and I was very proud of the 65-year-old CEO who looked around the room and said, don't you have anybody who looks like our consumer? So I was really proud of him in 1990 for doing that. So corporations have begun to change. But any place you get that is hierarchical is going to be harder to have the context for collaborative leadership, the environment for collaborative leadership. One of the things these questionnaires will do is help you see what things you might be able to do to make it easier for an environment that nurtures collaboration. Okay, so you've got to have the environment for collaboration, and you've got to know what your environment is in terms of resources, what's there and not there, and the people and other resources you have. The second one is visioning and mobilizing. You know, it says creating clarity. These phrases were developed by a bunch of healthcare folks, and you know, we've talked about words matter and simpler is better. John F. Kennedy, speechwriter, has 4 things that you need to keep in mind when you're communicating with people, and they are clarity, charity, levity, and brevity. Clarity, charity, levity, and brevity. Now, he says you get to clarity by brevity. If you're brief and you're clear, you'll be able to persuade people. But what do you think levity and charity are? Well, he says you don't need, yes, please.
Knowing how to speak to your audience, knowing who you're speaking to and what to say and when to say.
That's right. So charity and levity go to understanding your audience and not taking yourself too seriously. And charity has to do with connecting with them and kind of assuming maybe the other guy could be right. You know, Howard Baker, our great senator and majority leader and chief of staff in Reagan's White House from Tennessee, used to say to his staff that when you sit down with somebody from the other party, listen, because you have to go in with the attitude, the other guy just might be right. Let's say the other girl just might be right. But the other person just might be right. So that's one thing. That's another way that you develop an environment for collaboration, but also a way that you, with clarity and brevity and levity and charity, begin to get people to agree on a vision. So visioning and mobilizing, let's clarify that and make it briefer. You have to have a vision, it has to be clear, people have to know where they fit in it, and that's how you mobilize them. So a clear vision communicated in a way that people know what their role is in getting you there. And that way you can mobilize them. Okay, the next one is building trust. Let me, before we leave vision, that's why we focus so much on vision, both for yourself and for your project. Because if you can't say what you're about, why would anybody follow you? Building trust, that's what you just did with exercises like this. I hope that's what you're doing with your group, because you're going to have to trust people to do the job they've been assigned, right? And you're going to hear from one group from the last academy in a little bit, and I want you to ask them questions about how their process worked. Were they able to build trust? Did they collaborate? Because what you don't want is what I bet all of you have experienced in high school. And that is, if you're in a group, what sometimes happens?
One person.
That's right. One person winds up doing all the work. Now, I have to say that I used to be in groups like that, and I always felt like I was the person having to do all the work. And then I had somebody say to me, it was when I was a college student here at Lipscomb, somebody say to me, well, you never asked us to help. You never told us what you wanted us to do. Boy, did that kind of jerk me up short. So be sure you're clear on what you're asking each other to do, and then hold each other accountable. Don't just complain that they didn't do it. Have check-ins, make sure. Okay, and then that builds trust because people are doing what they need to make the project successful. Share power and influence. That's part of what I just said, right? Even if you are a take charge kind of person, and every one of you are, you know, even if you are, share that influence. Remember the very first video we saw about the second follower and how the leader embraced the first follower, how the leader embraced the first follower? Well, if the leader had not had somebody jump up and help him, what could he have done? Go out into the crowd, right? And get people to help. So you want to make sure people understand. By going into the crowd, he would have said, I need your help. Come help me. I don't want to be a lone, crazy guy, you know, dancing. But everybody saw that video, right? They don't think I'm crazy. Great, okay. And finally, developing people help each other. I was so pleased to hear you say you learned your strengths, you learned your weaknesses. I heard you say you wanted to work on your weaknesses, but I also appreciate what Kathy said. Sometimes you just are who you are. Okay, and you will need to put people around you to address some of the weaknesses that it's just going to be way too hard for you to try to change and be successful at. And I will give you an example. I am a visionary, right? High, in HBDI terms, high vision, high yellow. I couldn't do the details if it killed me. You know, y'all would not have gotten here if I'd been responsible for the process by which you were chosen. Okay? I can approve the process, I can put somebody in charge who can do it, but we would still be waiting for the class to form if I had been responsible. But I know that, and I've known that all my career, and so I've surrounded myself with people who could take my vision, listen to my ideas about a strategy, but just go create a strategy that I could communicate with the vision to mobilize people, and then make sure that I always had a deputy who was what we call in HBDI terms a green, a process person. Somebody who would attend to the details, would make sure that people were accountable. So, you know, I could have spent my life trying to get better at that, but I would never have been more than mediocre at it. So identify your strengths and weaknesses, but know which weaknesses have to be addressed for you to be successful, and know which ones that you can put a team together to help you reach. You're going to find that in your groups. There are going to be some people that will be better at holding all of you accountable. But help each other develop in the areas that you want to. And finally, self-reflection. And self-reflection is why I want you to take these assessments away and learn from them. Take them, learn from them, because after you leave us, a good leader reflects. A good leader spends time at the end of every day. I had a boss at Coca-Cola who would, at the end of every day, go home, pour himself a drink. Jack Daniels, neat. He would pour himself a drink, sit in front of his fire, or sit out by, you know, sit on the patio, and everybody knew not to disturb him for 30 minutes before dinner, because that's when he assessed the day. What could he have done better? What didn't work? What problem does he need to chew on, and how does he need to address it the next day and do a better job at it? I was really impressed with that. You know, it's a discipline that I will honestly say I have never been able to do every day the way he did, but it is so, so important. And so when you leave us, at least at the end of every week, look back and say, how did I use my leadership skills? How did I act as a leader during this week? And what could I do better? Okay. Colleen Callahan has arrived. Colleen is going to be one of our coaches today. Colleen is a former AmeriCorps member who developed programs, youth programs for Hands On Nashville, and is now working with LifePoint Hospital to develop their volunteerism and giving program. LifePoint Hospitals, I should say. Yes, they are plural. And we are very excited that she is a student in our master's program who's going to be graduating in May. She also is one of the best at developing strategy and plans to achieve a vision. And so we've asked her to be here today to help with each of the tables as you begin to work on your plans. So let's look at the strategy map that you have in front of you. We want you to use those strategy maps to identify your resources and your allies. And remember that you're starting right now at the bottom left part of the strategy map. This strategy map was developed by Warren Bennis, who was one of the great grandfathers of the leadership movement, the modern leadership movement in the United States. And he said two things are important: a vision, the ability to communicate it, three things, and the ability to turn that vision into a strategy. And so he uses that map. He used that map. He died about 4 months ago. He used that map to help people both in their personal vision and in a project vision and strategy as you're about to do. So I want you to take until about, let's say 10:30. I want you to work out your assets and your allies and begin to kind of work out some milestones along the way of that line that goes from the bottom left to the top right of the paper. And we're going to ask each group to have one person put it on one of these panels so that we see what your assets, your allies are. Be sure to put your vision at the top right-hand page or the top right at the end of that line, because your vision's always going to keep you doing what? Knowing what to say yes to and what to say no to. Because if it doesn't move you towards your vision, you shouldn't be doing it. Okay, so your vision upper right, and your allies and resources, allies and assets. Is it called an assets? No, resources. Okay, your allies and resources, and then milestones along the way as you move up that line. So let's do that for 15 minutes. Colleen will be here. Karen is here. Maggie is here. And I don't know your name.
Marla.
Marla, I'm sorry. And Marla is here to help their individual tables. Colleen will float, and then we're going to report out at 10:30. I want to let you know that at 10:45, you're going to start working on actually delivering a presentation about what you're going to do. And each girl in the group is first going to give us her personal vision. So we're videotaping it. We want you to give your personal vision, some version of the video that you send us. And then we're going to critique those and do them again. Because part of what a leader does is what? Improve. And so we're going to be very honest and help you get better. Okay? All right, so 15 minutes on the strategy. Three graduates who are here to present their project and where they are in implementing it. So please introduce yourself.
I'm going to tell you the flash drive.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I'm Anna Sager. I'm a sophomore at Litchfield Academy. And I told me to give my vision statement, but I don't really remember entirely. But long story short is, the education that I've received has made a big impact on my life, especially my teachers. And so I want to be a teacher, which will hopefully help me one day become a principal.
I'm Galgana Bora. I'm a freshman at MLK, and my goal is to become a pediatrician and work with an organization called Doctors Without Borders and help them help kids in undeveloped and third world countries.
I'm Ellie Hilbrun. I'm a freshman at Ravenwood High School. My mission statement is I want to be a history teacher because I've always loved learning about the past and how it affects the future.
Okay, and let me move this. We need to move this so that you go back though. There's nobody like that.
Alright, the other way.
So we decided as our project we would have a drive for the Vanderbilt Children's Hospital and we would collect various donation items.
We decided to do this drive because between our group, a lot of us either want to go into healthcare or help with children, and so we felt that this would be a good way to combine the two.
Our mission statement is serving sick children and their families so that they can focus on their recovery. We want to give back and be thankful for what we have been given.
And we decided to go this way because in all of our group members, none of us have been really sick, so our parents could focus on being our parents, not focus on us getting better. And so we thought if we did this, we could help them take away some of the stress and focus more on being a parent. And so some of the items that we were trying to gather was travel-sized toiletries, batteries, movies, books, and small Lego kits.
We also were trying to collect toys, plastic dinosaurs, wedding-sized bubbles, craft kits, mobiles, socks, and sweatpants.
And these items are ones that we would want because the bubbles are used to help patients with respiratory exercises. The play is used for relaxation exercises, and the gift cards help with the family's expenses.
So this is basically a graph showing how many donation items we collected at MLK. And we collected 23 girl items, and we collected 19 boy items.
And it's kind of a funny story, but at my school, my principal said we could do our drive, and then my school was in charge of toiletries, and then the next week, there was another drive doing the same thing, except if they donated, they got a jeans day, so nobody donated to us. But we had a donor, and they donated 350 various hygiene items.
At MLK, we had 42 donated items.
I wasn't able to do it at my school, so I did it at my local church and in the Girl Scout troops in my area.
So I'll be showing some pictures that of the drive we had at MLK. And this is a banner which I made to advertise my drive.
Let me just look through here.
So some challenges we faced were basically we're working with other people we don't get to see on a daily basis, or people who work who went to different schools than us. So it was kind of difficult to be able to work with them, but we were able to figure it out by having like GroupMe or doing like this PowerPoint through Google Docs, which really helped us. And the snowstorm really impacted us because we originally had a 2-week period to have our drive in each of our schools or churches, but then we had to push it back and try and fit it in.
Right.
So everyone's donation items are like in their cars right now.
Our next step is to drop off all the items that we've collected at the Manual Children's Hospital.
And basically our motto, which summed up what our project was to help and start caring about the little things. And these donation items were small, maybe little and small to us, but they mean the world to the little kids there, so help and start caring about the little things. And this quote really summed up the main idea and the topic. From what we get, we can make a living. From what we give, however, it makes a life. From Arthur Ashe.
Okay, so a couple of questions from y'all to this group. Any questions? Yes.
Did you have any like struggles like in the process other than like the snow?
Well, it was just hard because she said the same thing happened at her school, but it was like, what's the point if I don't get anything out of it, which is a terrible mindset to have, for at least for our project. But like that was hard because it's just hard to get people. You can plan it out as much as you want, but if people don't help you, then you can't do anything about it.
So basically what I had to do was buy people with dum-dums and candy to donate and things like that. But the snowstorm also affected us because people would keep on forgetting to bring items because we would have school this day and no school another day.
So you kind of have to make it emotional to make them want to do it.
We're going to talk about that call to action later because you had some really good calls to action, but you may not have had the opportunity to really use them. Another question? Okay, I have a comment, and that is particularly with Anna, where there was another drive competed. And so they had to be flexible in, what did they do? They found a donor. She had to be flexible in how she actually met her commitment to her group and her responsibility to the project, even though she was in competition with another group.
And it also helps because at my school, one of our other group members goes to my school, she just couldn't come today, and so it was nice that we had more people like pulling for us, but even then it didn't really work very well.
Okay, any other questions?
And one of my comments would be you have to, if you're passionate about it, then other people will be passionate about it. And I think that's one of the differences in our groups and the groups that were here last time, is that like this was something that was really important to us, and so we worked really hard to make it happen.
Okay. I'll give you one more opportunity to ask a question.
Linda,
Yes,
I
Karen.
have a comment to make, and I don't know if you all watch public television or listen to public radio, but whenever they do their fundraising drives, they just about always have some sort of incentive. Because if you can create a what's in it for me for the people that you want to bring in, then you're capturing them, their hearts and minds and resources.
And you know who else does that really well? Any of you know about Indiegogo campaigns? Kickstarter campaigns? There's another one that's, yeah, GoFundMe campaigns. Anybody here know about those? Raise your hand if you've seen stuff. Okay, so what do they have down the right-hand corner, usually, or the right-hand side of the screen? If you give $5, you get this. If you give $10, you get that. If you give 20 or 25 or 100, and they are increasingly special incentives for giving that amount. So I always, you know, you're the generation who really is online, and I always encourage our groups to think about Indiegogo and Kickstarter, and now GoFundMe, which is one that I don't know. Okay, y'all did a great job. Thank you so much. And you're gonna, we have a copy of this, Vicki? Okay, and we got them on video, right? Good. Okay. So now you're going to be up on the side too. Do you have any questions of these girls before we move in? You want to know what their projects are?
Why not?
All right. Table number 1. Give us the vision of your project, not your whole strategy, just the vision.
We're going to try to bring awareness to sex trafficking and educate people in our schools.
Okay, like we went to mentor elementary and middle school students and help them become better at like the subject that they do.
Okay, our group is interested in creating a small group where victims of sexual abuse can come and be in community together.
Our group is going to try to provide mentorships and positive influences to young girls in order to advance their knowledge of themselves and confidence in order to accept others.
It's interesting the direction they took versus the direction we all took.
Yes, it is. But that just shows that you have to choose your passion. Each group had to choose something they were really interested in and really wanted to focus on, just like you said in your presentation. All of you wanted to go in some way into the health or education field, right? And so it was important to you to do something in that area. Okay, well, thank you so much. Are any of you going to the game?
Oh, yes, I was.
Okay, Anne, are you going to the game?
I'm not.
I should say that we have a few tickets to the OBC girls women's basketball game today that you could go to and get there by halftime, probably after graduation. So if any of you want tickets, as long as they, I'll ask Melanie how many we have, but if any of you would like to go from graduation down to the OBC basketball game, please let us know. I'm having trouble talking. Okay, so what we want to do is take 15 minutes and have you take us through your assets and your resources and your timeline. And there's a reason you're going to do this, because this is step 1, telling us your thought process and your strategy. Step 2 is going to be what do you need to have in your presentation and working on that. We're not going to do that one next. Okay. All right. Let's start over here since I started there last time. Do you have everything you need up on the board?
We do not.
Well, okay, then why don't you go get yours finished and we'll go to somebody else. Who has theirs finished? That table back there does, right?
Yes.
Okay, so why don't y'all start while the other groups are getting this finished? There are two. They'll always have trouble deciding who's going to speak. So.
Okay, so we called our movement Moments for Minds, and what we're going to do is to bring this idea, which is giving a better education to those who are close to our age so they can, like, what's the word?
Like get better educated.
And basically like relate to us more because we're closer to their age rather than having like a mentor who's, you know, like in their like over like upper 20s, like things like that, so they can communicate and relate to us more comfortably. So we're going to bring this idea to the administration of our schools. There's like 3 different schools here in this group, so we're going to bring it to all different schools' attention and get our teachers to help us kind of like start it off and be our allies with it. And anything you want to add?
Yeah, we're gonna try to get like a bunch of other students from our school to help us out, because the more people, the better a chance that we get like to help these younger students. Because our goal is to give a better education to further generations. So when we finish up with this generation, we want that generation to just go and continue our footsteps. So, because as I see, like in the past we had really great teachers, but now, like as we're coming close to the present and the future, there's like a lack of teachers in today's society. So we just want everybody to be educated.
Okay, tell us what your resources and your kind of key allies and how you're going to use them.
Okay, so our resources are some teachers at our schools and the teachers of the students at the schools. We also have the administration, and we also, like I said, we can get like some friends, like our other students.
I mean, like, the more people, like, the better, and also adults can kind of, like, make this idea look more, like, appealing, I guess, because they have more experience and knowledge, right, and just, like, teachers, I guess, they, like, know what they're doing. So,
Well, and I want to push back a little bit because you didn't put one of your key resources up there, and that's you, right? Because one of the things you want is for young people to be helping even younger students, right? The other thing, and you need to be thinking about it, is when you give the presentation, and we're going to see in a little bit, you will need to have some steps, and we're going to talk about the different ways that you can characterize that as you move through. But be thinking about what's step 1, what's step 2, what's step 3. How do you get from the bottom left to the top right? Okay. Colleen, do you have any comments on this group?
I have a question. Have you already identified like the kids or the group of kids that need this mentorship? Like, is your school set up that you have like high school and then middle school and elementary school?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
So remember, and that needs to be in your planning.
Right.
Because remember, this group got very focused very early on the fact that they were going to do Monroe Carroll Children's Hospital. They knew what they were going to do for it, and they knew why. So you've got to get specific. You've got to get specific as you remember what we talked about, so you're clear on what you need people to do for you. Okay? All right. What table is ready? I see this group is all working together collaboratively right there. Yes. All right.
Our project is called the Triple H Project, and we have an acronym for our name because the reason for our project is to be a discrete group where there's like no shame in coming to it. So the Triple H stands for Healing, Hope, and Happiness. And our vision is to create a small group where victims of sexual abuse can come and be in community with each other. And just know that there's someone there that they can always talk to who's been through similar experiences like them. Our starting point would be to present our basic idea to the guidance counselors at our school. I think all of us have a pretty solid counseling department, whether it be like personal, spiritual, or academic, but all of those people could help us make that happen. Our resources that we would use would be our guidance counselors, our administration, health science or psychology teacher to be like the club sponsor. Because I know at our schools, if you want to get a club approved, you have to have a teacher on board to like supervise. And then the final step would be to get it approved by our principal or our school president. And our strategy would be to make this like a casual, discreet, after-school group, and how we would bring people in is with snacks. Because if you want to get teenagers to do anything, you have to give them snacks or really good food and fun activities.
That's great. All those steps are great. One of the things we talked about last time was making sure that you research some best practices on how to deal with this particular population. Good. Hey, great. Okay, so in just a minute, you're going to need to move that, and you're going to need to use that as you develop your presentation about your project. Okay. Good. Yes, one more thing.
Oh, we weren't done.
You weren't done. Keep going.
Our allies would be to use our parents to just give us guidance and to help us fundraise. So parents, fundraising, and prayer support from our churches, because this is like, it's a really personal subject for some people, and prayer, the power of prayer is amazing. So the power of prayer. And our goal would be to provide healing, hope, and happiness for sexual abuse victims. Yes.
Colleen, any comments on that one, or any of the mentors' comments? We're going to get a chance to comment on the final presentation, but only on strategy right now, only on strategy.
Yeah, just seconding your opinion on it's such a touchy subject, you know, and it's just something you have to walk the line very carefully. So research is definitely powerful in that.
Great. Okay, who wants to go next? It's one of the two of you. We can go. Since you're already up there, why don't you? That sounds good.
Okay. Our thing is called Embrace, and what we want to do is we want to teach girls to embrace themselves so they can embrace other people and like make friends and stuff. And so our starting point would be to embrace ourselves and know our community so we can help like others around us. Our allies are nonprofit organizations, Shay Howard and Dr. Catherine Brown. Our resources would be like guidance counselors and other teams so we can get the message across to younger girls.
And like as we want to start kind of in a smaller based like mentorship type idea and hopefully spread that into a broader kind of citywide coalition of acceptance and inclusion for young girls. And we were thinking there are a lot of organizations like this, but usually they're focusing on high school girls or girls that are a little bit older, and we want to kind of nip the problem right in the bud. So we're going to start with kind of the younger girls.
Good, good. And I see you're going to spread the word through social media and that part of your strategy. And what I hear you saying is you're not only teaching girls to embrace themselves, but also to embrace their community, right? And so that they're going. You started out wanting to help people also embrace people who are different, right? Yeah. So if you understand and embrace yourself, then it'll be easier to do that. Right. Colleen, or the mentors, any comments?
Well said.
Yeah, you've already been around to the table, so I probably am repetitive here. Okay, final group.
All right, so we came up with our idea and called it Teens Against Trafficking, and we kind of kicked around the idea of calling it TAT, as in like tattoo. That's something people have associated with a lot of movements that we see in our schools, like as in the Red Cross on the hand for the End It movement, which is also another trafficking organization. We identified allies as the Rescue One Global, which is a program that works heavily in Azaria School already, and would be willing to come to different schools in the Middle Tennessee area and speak to our individual schools, which is where we're wanting to start. The YWCA, of course. The administration and guidance counselors in our schools will also be a very valuable resource, and the She Rescue Home, which is a program that my church is very affiliated with. So.
All right, so we kind of skipped over like our starting point. Basically, we wanted to make sure to do some core research, like within our group, to make sure we know exactly what we're going to be talking about and saying in our presentations, as far as like posters, articles, and newspaper. I know at my school we actually have like a daily news, and I was going to talk to my teacher who runs the news, but we haven't had school for like 4 weeks. So there's that. And then we want to make sure that we want to make it known to like our administration and guidance, like what we're doing and what's going on.
So strategy, we want to start with our schools. Talk to our schools about placing posters in the hallways, for one thing. We want to talk to our school newspapers individually, and eventually work our way up to maybe even getting presentations with these different organizations that are already very established. Because we identified that trafficking is either something that people joke about or is something that people don't know about, which I guess would feed into the unfamiliarity and people think it's a joke, but it's not. So that's what we want to do. We want to gradually build up to something more serious. And then we have articles in the school newspapers and presentations, and then resources was the Rescue and Global, our schools, which would be the primary outlet, the newspapers, and April, which is already established as the Domestic Violence Month. So.
Great, so you've got April coming up and you'll be able to focus on that. Are you domestic abuse and human trafficking over here? I mean, not domestic, abuse and sexual abuse. All right, so for both of you, the YW is important. But I want to also challenge you to go on the YW site and look at how they're engaging men. All right? Because you don't solve the human trafficking problem or the abuse problem by just talking to women, do you? Because and one of the really creative things that's happening out of the Y right now is the way that Pat Shea, the head of the Y, is engaging the men in our city, from the mayor to the police chief to major corporation CEOs, to help bring the message not only to women about how to respond and how to heal, but also to men about why this is not acceptable.
Well,
Okay?
also like address that, you know, it doesn't happen as often, but it happens to men too. And I think a lot of people realize that.
And you're exactly right. You're exactly right. And so with your sexual abuse, you will be probably attracting both both girls and boys, right? Into this. And so just keep that in mind, though. I think we sometimes tend to focus on girls and women who are victims without getting to the root problem. Remember, we talked about root problems? So you want to make sure you stop it, not just heal from it. Okay? All right. That was great. Now you're going to work on how to actually turn that strategy into a presentation and call to action. You saw how well this group did in incorporating some of those things. Well, they actually got some guidance on that, the same guidance that you're about to get. And I have to ask if Melanie is out there. Oh no, here it is. Good, I did it by myself. So, there is a communication expert called Monroe, and he created something called Monroe's Motivated Sequence. And it's used by people in every walk of life, in every sector, business, government, nonprofit, to develop messages to get people to create a behavior change. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to get people to do things, right? So you want to change the world, and that's your vision. You know what you want to create, and that's your mission. And you know how you're going to do it, and that's your strategy. But you've got to be able to capture all of that into a persuasive presentation that ends with a call to action. And so as you think about your projects right now, I want you to think about these steps. The first is the hook, the attention getter. Some people use a quote, Some people use a human face. Remember we talked about early on, the best way to communicate is to reach all groups, right? And so some people respond to the three things that Aristotle said were necessary to persuade. One is pathos. We talked about that, right? Pathos is pulling at the heartstrings. The second is ethos. The spokesperson has to be credible. And the final one is logos. The facts have to be there. So sometimes it's really good to pull people in with pathos. Pull them in with your view of the world or with your view of a human face that is going to be affected by this. What this group did when they did this actual sequence was they used the idea of children in the hospital and their families and how lucky they were to be healthy and how they wanted to help those families who were going through that struggle. So what's your punch or your attention getter? Many of you already have a tagline. And so is there a way to use your tagline with some kind of attention getter? Some kind of human face, some kind of, in some cases it's a statistic. In some cases it's logic and reason. Did you know that 1 out of every 3 high school students has been the victim of sexual abuse? Okay, I just made that stat up, so you'll have to get the right statistic. But you're trying to pull people in, right? So the next thing is you want to define the problem. You want to define the problem. You know, how big is it? Who does it affect? Why is it important? The next thing you want to do, and this is where you want to come back to the Aristotle pathos, pulling at the heartstrings, emotion, ethos. You're a credible source to be able to ask them. And then finally, logos, the facts. So what's the cause? What causes the problem? Are there internal and external causes? Make sure that you can very succinctly describe the cause of the problem. And then finally, how are you going to solve it? You know, there's one way to teach Monroe's motivated sequence that when you get to these two, you say, you have a problem, I can solve it. Right? So the first is the problem definition. The second is, how are you going to solve it together? Yeah. How do you know that what you're going to do works? How are you going to solve it together? And then finally, bring it all together in some kind of recap and call to action. We had mayoral candidates here last week. In all of their closing statements, they did what? They asked people to vote for them. They asked people to vote for them. Now, one of them didn't, and I thought it was really fun. I mean, you know, me sitting in the back of the room saying, he forgot to ask them to vote for him. Now, if people only do what you ask them to do, you can't assume that they're going to know by osmosis what they need to do next to help you. Okay? All right, so let's take about 15 to 20 minutes. Work on your presentation. It can be given by 2 people. It can be given by every one of you. You can assign out different pieces of this. You can do it any way you want to. So 15 to 20 minutes. And Colleen will be floating. And you should have Okay, start with your personal visions, then your project.
Okay. Is this thing on?
Did you get a yes from the photographer, from the
It's
videographer?
good. Okay.
Yes.
My name is Mallory Wiley, and for the future, I want to be a physical therapist. And I'm really good at working with people. I understand them, and I can relate to them. And I'm just like a people person, so I feel like in the future that will help me with what I want to do.
I'm Olivia Cunningham, and I aspire to have a profession in the medical field because I enjoy working with people to use my talents to help others. And I've always been fascinated with medical sciences and how our bodies work.
My name is Kimberly Cunningham, and yes, we are sisters. I would describe myself as a faith-filled, hard-working, creative, outgoing person, and I strive someday to have a career in business, public relations, or something in fashion.
My name is Hannah Hurt. I'm a junior at Davidson Academy, where I'm a hostel secretary. I strive to encourage creativity in other people, and recently I have decided that I wish to be a dance and movement therapist. So I wish to help others physically, mentally, emotionally, through creativity and through dance, and I wish to just encourage creativity and help them get their ideas out there, their opinions, and to feel included.
I'm Megan Marshall. I go to Davidson Academy also. I'm on the volleyball team and the basketball team there. My plans for the future are to attend Auburn University. I want to major in education and minor in Spanish, and I want to one day become a history teacher.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Gilbert, and I go to Lighthouse Christian School. And for my future, I really want to go to an Ivy League school, either Harvard or Vanderbilt, and go into the medical sciences and become a doctor because I really have a passion for that person-to-person connection with people.
Our project is called Triple H for Healing, Happiness, and Hope.
One in 3 women and 1 in 5 men will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. But because these crimes are less likely to be reported, statistics are never truly accurate. 15 out of 16 rapists will never spend a day in jail. Every 2 minutes, someone in the United States is sexually assaulted. That means in the time it takes to watch this video, somebody will become a victim. What gave me away was with my face. It's written on there, clear as day, isn't it? Last year, I created a photography project called Unbreakable. I began by photographing survivors of sexual assault holding a poster with a quote from their attacker. I simply started by photographing people that I knew, and at that point, I had no idea how powerful this project could be. That's one thing that has to change. I began receiving hundreds of emails thanking me for what I was doing. Survivors were contacting me, asking me to photograph them, and submitting their own images if they lived too far away. And I realized that I had the ability to make a huge difference in a world where sexual abuse is shamed and kept quiet. And people were finally letting go and taking the power back of words that were once used against them. I do this project for the little girl who was molested and then raped by her stepfather. I do this for the 13-year-old whose attacker crawled into her bed when she was too drunk at a party. I do this for the girl who was forced to have oral sex in the middle of the club. I do this for the child who was sexually abused by her own mother. I do this for the 17-year-old who was propositioned by her grandfather. I do this for every man and every woman who's ever been a survivor of sexual abuse. My name is Grace Brown. These are our stories, and we are unbreakable.
Nearly 70% of all reported sexual assaults occurred to children under ages 17 and under. The median age for reported abuse is 9 years old.
Basically, what our group wants to do is to create a small group in our schools where victims of sexual abuse can come and be in community together in a really discreet, casual, fun, laid-back setting. We would do this and base our meetings off of the 24 principles of healing, which are to come together, proclaim original grace, cry with your Creator, find your place in the circle, think of the stranger as God, take the longer path, make a small change and see the big difference. Let God sort it out. Stand on new ground and believe you are not lost. Forgive and feel freedom. Unite your sexuality and spirituality. Show hospitality to all. Laugh at yourself. Consider the thistle. Listen to a new idea. Lose gracefully. Remember you have been in the ditch. Walk behind. Live in gratitude. Love without judgment. Stay on point. Pray for courage. Find your way home and leave thankfully.
Here is a list of do's and don'ts when we're in our gatherings that we need to either do or not do. We need to listen to whoever we're talking to and let them open up on their own. We need to be patient. Not everyone that we talk to will want to open up. Be sensitive to their feelings. Make things confidential. Allow for space. We don't need to be judgmental. We never should be forceful. We should never make assumptions. We shouldn't gossip, criticize, or blame anyone.
The purpose of this is to take away the negative energy that has occurred to these women or men. And what we aim to do is to help them and help their families. And then by just by focusing on the negative effects, like afterwards, it is noticed that there may be loss of appetite, lack of trust, negative self-image, or even suicidal thoughts. So we will address suicide by teaching everyone what the warning signs are and try to help those. And then with loss of appetite, we could have fun activities such as a cooking class to encourage eating. With lack of trust, we could have fun games like the game we just played in there, like trust falls, all sorts of fun trust stuff things. And to help with negative self-image, we can have sort of classes where we can have people come in and help the guys and girls feel confident within themselves and know their natural beauty, but also we can have like makeup artists to come in and help the girls. And then for guys, they can go to the gym or go get their new haircut, whatever guys do to feel attractive, but just make it fun so we're not focusing on just how you feel, what are your feelings, that there's too much energy thrown on them, that they do not want the attention.
Okay, and for all of that, we're going to need a budget because it's not free to bring in makeup artists and all that. So we expect to have probably like 10 people because it's most likely going to be a small group. So we would need funding for snacks, books, and the special guests that come to the meetings. So we're estimating about $100 a month, and we are going to first go to our schools and see what fundraisers we can start there, and after that we will just see what we can do within our community to raise money for this.
To recap, we basically just want to create a small group where victims of sexual abuse can come and be in community together. And our ultimate goal is to provide healing, hope, and happiness. Thanks.
As we're running short of time, I just want to say a couple of things and ask the mentors to say a couple of things. One is great research and great plans using the research. One thing you want to think about is how long people are actually able to keep their attention focused on you. And so if you're going to use the long video, and you could have just used pieces of the video, right, once you are able to think about how you want to present, right? But if you're going to use the long video, then I think one thing you may want to do is get more into your project, then show the video. even though I know you used it as an attention getter, you may want to get people's attention first and then show it in some way, okay? The second thing is the list of 24 things I think would have been extremely powerful if each girl had taken them instead of reading them one down the list. I mean, I think that would have been powerful. I love all the things you're doing with it. I think you need, and obviously you've had 20 minutes, all right? So please don't take this as criticism. It is some things you can think about in the future. Get it more concise, and you show your research, but you don't have to show all of your research when you're doing your presentation. Great job, though. Great job. Okay, next group. Yes, Karen.
Just on your call to action, in a great summary, but also make sure that you're saying what you want them to do. We would like your help for such and such.
That's right, yes. So you need $100. You need $100, but how are you going to get it? Who are you asking? You ask for the money, right? Or ask for volunteer makeup artist or whatever. Okay? All right, next group. Yes, please go. Oh, all right. We're fighting over who goes next. But because we're short of time, choose quickly and get up there, okay?
Okay, so we did have like picture that was supposed to come up that didn't load. So
Where were you trying to pull them from?
it was from the TBI website. Yeah, it's like not news.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Okay, so for my tweet, I did quiet, smart, caring, goofy, accomplished. These are all words that describe me. But family and he who gives me strength are my everything. Hebrews 11:1.
For my tweet, I said, "Our world is much bigger than my life, my goals, and my dreams. So I won't strive to be remembered. I'll live to be the light today." Esther 4:14.
All right, so for my tweet, I said, I'm a teenage girl hoping to help others find awareness and tolerance of the unknown and themselves by leading through compassion and acceptance. And for me, in the future, I want to serve others by serving in the U.S. Air Force as a biomedical engineer and help those who have lost limbs and skin in the war.
My name is Anna Singfield. For my tweet, I said, I strive to achieve my goals and to stand out of society's view of being in the in crowd, and my hashtag is above the influence. And I plan on pursuing a career in criminal psychology and studying in an HBCU.
All right, hello everyone. My name's Olivia Gum, and I don't really know what my future career is going to be, although I am interested in communications involving public relations and journalism, and I also like learning about psychology and sociology. My biggest concern for the community would definitely be education, and I really want to help low-income students raise their academic standards.
Okay, so for our project, we decided to do sex trafficking. And for me, I learned about it this year, like in my school, because some Rescue One, they came and they talked to us about like how it's a really big deal, and how like we don't, like us as young girls, we don't understand that it's a big deal. Like for me, I didn't know what it was until after the fact that I saw the videos and they talked to us about it. And like right now, they have someone living with them, and she has been sex trafficked. So while we were talking about sex trafficking, they Skyped her during our little program, and she told us about how it was a guy, and I don't remember how old she was, but she said that he lived across the street from her, and he was much, much older, like around 17, and he he like pretty much like bribed her to have sex with him, and like nobody knew what was going on. Like she was harming herself and everything, but the people from Rescue One, they came and they helped her, and like now she's still recuperating from it, because I mean it's a lot from being forced to have sexual intercourse with somebody. It's a lot to take in. And so for her, she just told us that it's like, it's not okay, but it's okay for somebody else to know. It's okay for you to talk to somebody about it. It's not like, I don't know the word. It's not like it's the end of the world, but it kind of is, because we don't know, as young girls, we don't know that it's happening. Like in Green Hills, like in Tennessee, it's like 92 kids from 12 to 14, in between those ages, 12 and 14, being taken every month. So for us, one day it can happen to one of us. Like one day we can like walk out of our house and somebody, well, not walk out of our house, but like be somewhere and somebody just take us, and we don't understand that and don't get it. And it's like good to know that what it is and how it works and stuff.
And one of the cooler things about this program is we came in and a lot of the girls were so like-minded. So we sat down and we tried to start brainstorming about what we wanted to address, an issue that we see in our community. And we all immediately kind of clicked on the subject of trafficking in general, and especially sex trafficking. The problem primarily in Tennessee is sex trafficking. It's very, very prominent in Nashville and in larger cities. Some of the statistics that we looked up said that 80% of girls, the problem is 80% girls and then 20% boys, which we were honestly shocked. That was, the 20% of boys was kind of a shock to us. We thought that would be a much smaller number. And we also saw that 1 in 3 teens who run away will be lured into prostitution within 48 hours. So we really, really want to stress that it is a huge deal, and it is growing rapidly, that slavery that we think of, that we're taught in school, is nothing compared to what it is today. It is growing exponentially, and people don't seem to want to know about it. It's a touchy subject, and people don't want to address it as readily. So.
All right, so I'd like to address some of the causes of why it's happening right now. One of the big things is that it's hard to get caught, frankly, because there's not as many laws written, because it's starting to become a new thing. It's like happened within the last 10 or 20 years. So it's hard for these people to get caught. There's lots of money to be made in it. Like some of the statistics I saw, you can make, or someone can make up to $200,000 by selling these people into this slavery. And also one of the biggest reason why is because a lot of girls and boys at that age of 12 to 14 are very vulnerable, because that's around the same time, you know, the self-esteem issues going on, you know. A lot of these kids don't feel like their parents are as involved in whatever, so they're the most vulnerable, and that's why they're the ones that are the most targeted.
Okay, so given this information, what we plan to do is start in our individual schools and talk to our guidance counselors, talk to all the administration, and get it able to have posters and maybe articles placed in newspapers to raise awareness to everyone about this problem. And that would be the starting point, and then maybe getting it up to the point where we get people from the organizations such as the YWCA to present to students like the severeness of this problem. And if you know people who are in this position, let them know that there are organizations and there are people that can help them get through their problem. And tell your friends about this, because really not many people know about this problem, and that is our main goal, is to raise awareness about this.
All right, so in conclusion, just like everyone else stated, we need to realize that each one of us, there could be someone that sits next to our class or next to a meeting, and they could have the problem and are being emotionally and physically tormented. And we have to look up and research the signs, and we have to be supportive of everyone in our community and make sure the word is out that if you find someone in the situation, you can properly address it and help them out. Thank you.
Okay, 1 minute of comment.
Oh, yeah. Wait just a second.
From Davidson County. This is like, there were over 100 cases, and this was in 2011, and it's just grown since then. And this is like the demographic data, and so yeah, there were over 100. And there was one other statistic. Oh, oh yeah, there's multiple. For per case, that doesn't just mean like one person was found with this. This is like multiple people, like a big group that they found and like busted, I suppose.
And I also want to point out that you may not think it's happening in the U.S., but it is. And specific research has shown 85% of like every one of our counties in Tennessee have reported sex trafficking in the last year.
So those are all great statistics that you used. I want to comment on a couple of things. One is you didn't use your teens, you didn't use text. So you forgot about it, yeah. So when you have something good like that, be sure you use it. What I heard you say, and what I think could be really compelling, is she lived across the street from him. He made her one of the 92 kids taken every month into trafficking in Tennessee. If you run away in 48 hours, you're bound to wind up in prostitution. This is a new kind of slavery that we don't talk about. It's not the slavery we study in school. It's new. We need to talk about it. And then what you're going to do about it. But think about really pulling it into very punchy sentences, because when you start trying to raise awareness, those are things that will pull people in, and then use your statistics. And then I still am not quite sure what you're actually going to do about it. So I know you're going to build awareness, but what kind of awareness campaign? You need to think about that. Okay? Really good. Thank you. And I'm going to invite the mentors to go up afterwards and talk to the groups, because we have to get out in time for our graduation. We have a graduation speaker coming in just a few minutes. Okay, next group. Yes, this group has tried to go twice, so we'll let them go, and then you'll be the last group.
Okay, so I'm Grace Stevens, and my biggest strengths are communication, command, and strategy. I hope to gain a career in PR and marketing when I grow up, and I hope to use my strengths in command to shape a better business environment.
Hello, I'm Janice, and one of my biggest strengths is meeting new people and supporting them through their tough times. Just the fact that I can welcome new people with open arms just makes me really, really happy, and I hope I can do it for anyone in here that needs anything.
Hi, my name is Shriana Ogilvy, and my passion has always been helping and advising others. So in the future, I would like to become a lawyer.
Hello, my name is Kristen Bell, and I would like to go into the field of psychology, either criminal psychology or developmental. I'm not sure really yet. They're both interesting to me.
So our group is gonna form a club called For Our Future Now. And a little background on why we chose this. It's a mentoring session to help younger children to gain a better education. And in my past classmates in the past years, I've had a lot of people who, struggled with their academics and didn't have the confidence and or education to get help. So I feel like if we bring the help to the children, they'll be more open-minded to the idea. So you can start off with this. But first we have statistics.
So I did some research and I found two really very important facts or statistics that stood out to me. One was a third grade student who reads at the appropriate reading level compared to a third grade student who does not is 4 times more likely to graduate by age 19. Furthermore, a student living in poverty is 13 times less likely to graduate on time. Sorry. My second one is high schools are not preparing students with the skills and knowledge necessary to excel after graduation. Only 1 in 4 high school students graduate college ready in the four core subjects of English, reading, math, and science.
So for the steps, what we want to do is by taking our idea of connecting with younger children and educating them in a more comfortable setting. So like rather than them just sitting in a classroom listening to their teacher speak, we want to kind of go one-on-one with them, show them, just teach them things they need to do, kind of like help them. We also want to advertise our idea to elementary schools because some of the girls here, their high schools aren't connected to middle school, so they will have to go out and try to get in elementary, try to show them what we're about, how we're trying to help everyone. By posters, just setting up posters around. So using the resources of the teachers at the children's school to persuade the children who are recommended by these teachers, to persuade and aid, my bad. So what we're trying to, so also we just want to go to like the teachers, like using them. Sorry, just using the, getting help from the teachers because, you know, they did go to school for this. So there's a lot of help they can give us because, you know, we haven't gone to school for this, but we do want to help. So there's like an infinite source of wisdom there and ideas they can help us with. Meeting with the children at local libraries or their own school during the week or weekend. Again, this ties into the whole more comfortable settings where we can just chill at the library or maybe even just like their own school if that's what they're more comfortable with, the location that they're used to in order to try to help them. And then finally, allow the children to gain a confidence in their strengths relating to schoolwork and academic education. It's like the main goal of our thing to sort of help their self-confidence in their education to know that it's important and they do need to take pride in it and to do their best.
So like in conclusion, like Janice was saying, like American students, they don't have like the necessary skills and knowledge to be successful. Well, a lot of them don't in today's world. And it's not something that should just be brushed under the rug. Like, it's something that's really needs to be talked about and that really needs to be discussed because this is impacting our future and future generations. So, thank you.
What do you want people to do to help you? What's your call to action?
Okay, so we're going to try to get our friends that go to our school to join in with us so we can have more mentors so we can help other younger students so we can like gain a bigger club to help more. So we're going to go back, well, I'm going to go back to my elementary school. Theirs is connected to their high school. So I'm going to go back and discuss with my past teachers which students need more help the most and in which subjects. And then whichever subjects that are like biggest strengths, that student will be given to that mentor. So they'll be getting the best like tutoring that we can give them.
Great, and it's called For Our Future Now, and you're going to be asking people to join you as mentors and students to come be with you and teachers to support you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great, thank you. And again, because we're pushing up against graduation time, if the mentors have comments for or suggestions for any of these groups, please give it to them afterwards, okay? Thanks. One last group. While that group's getting up there, I want to remind you that you're going to be asked to come back and present at Alumni Day and or to the next academy, just as this last group presented to you. So we're going, right? Yeah. So we're going to be asking you to do that, and Melanie will be following up with you to see how your project's going and to get you back to report.
We're trying to get Melanie to pull up a picture that we sent her.
Oh, okay. Tell her what you need and then give us your individual visions.
Okay. My name's Sophia Howard, and my love for people and their differences is what has shaped me as an individual, and I hope to help show the world how beautiful everyone's differences are.
My name is Hunter Kaler, and aspiring to be a web developer, I hope to spread other people's strong messages.
My name's Haley Kinser, and I hope to make the world better by teaching girls that it's okay to embrace themselves.
My name is Lily Johnson, and I like helping people. One day I hope to go into the Army and be a trauma surgeon.
My name is Jada Kinser, and I would like to be a forensic photographer so that I can learn more about the human body and also take pictures.
My name is Lillian Bailey. I want to go into the medical field, so I want to help people get better and show them that somebody's there for them in their time of need, and also just as a friend. Okay, so we made pictures. Who am I? She is stuck between who she is, who she wants to be, and who she should be. Ignore the drama, ignore the, what's that say? Oh, sorry. Ignore the hatred, ignore the pain, and find peace, find happiness, and find yourself, which is what we're trying to promote with this, is to find who you are and not go off on what everybody else expects you to be. We begin to find and become ourselves when we notice how we are already found. Already truly, entirely, wildly, messily, marvelously, who we are, we're born to be. Who am I? Who am I is the question.
I starred 3 statistics I wrote down, and one of them is 75% of girls with low self-esteem reported engaging in negative activities like cutting, bullying, smoking, drinking, or disordered eating. This compares to 25% of girls with high self-esteem. 80% of women agree that every woman has something about her that is beautiful but do not see their own beauty. 6 in 10 girls stop doing what they love because they feel bad about their looks. And I start another one. Girls' self-esteem plummets at age 12 and doesn't improve until age 20.
Okay, the problem that we're facing is that the image of perfection is preventing young women from embracing their true selves. And the image of perfection is like when magazines use Photoshop and stuff like that.
So for the cause, we kind of focused on 2 different aspects, the internal and external. Internally, we see girls conform, the pressure to conform, and then externally, the pressure from society, societal norms, the things that we see on magazines and on TV shows. And these 2 things work together to create an insecure girl, and that's what we're trying to prevent at a young age.
Our solution is to help young girls be able to embrace themselves and their character as true beauty.
We wrote a quote down, and it says, "The solution to adult problems tomorrow depends on the large measure upon how our children grow up today," by Margaret Mead. And that just kind of impact us, and how if we can help them, then they can be confident in what they do in the future.
And it kind of reinforces why we should care about empowering our young girls today because one day they will become our leaders, and we want them to be strong, confident young women. And the name of our group is Embrace. Sorry.
You had some really powerful pieces. Did you actually create that?
No, well,
behind you found it.
Yes, Lillian
Okay.
found them, and then she collaged them.
Oh, so you did create that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's terrific. That was a nice grabber, particularly the upper left hand. She's stuck between who she is, who she wants to be, and who she should be. I never got, though, exactly what you were going to do to help.
That's what we were talking about. Moving for a second. Okay, we are hoping to get like one of the other teams. We are hoping to get like other teen girls or other clubs or Girl Scouts or something to help us achieve this, because a lot of other people are trying to do what we're doing, like Dove and projects, and like there's bullying projects doing the same thing, and we
But
hope
specifically mentoring middle school age girls on confidence and the way to address different.
And you have a plan for doing it, for reaching out to middle school. Okay, good. Well, then we will look forward to hearing it when you come back. I know that the mentors will have some specific things to suggest to each of the groups. I will give you kind of my final valediction of my benediction to you at the end of graduation, but I just want you to give yourselves a big hand for your work. All right, take about 5 minutes and please get back into graduation by no later than 10 after, okay? And graduation is down the hall in 301.
Okay, well, before